Well, as Melinda was mentioning, Turkey's president will hold several meetings throughout the day. For more on this, Altay Atli, he's a lecturer at Koc University, joins me now in the studio. Altay, good to have you back on today. Melinda was just talking about that expected meeting between President Erdogan and the German Chancellor. She talked about how important the ties were between these two countries. Germany is Turkey's largest, or one of the largest trading partners. Germany also hosts the largest Turkish community outside of Turkey. Let's get your insight into this meeting.
It's really important. I mean, so we have been talking over the last few days about Erdogan's upcoming meeting with Donald Trump, with a focus on the purchase of missiles from Russia and so on. We have been talking about Erdogan's meeting and the subsequent visit to China with the Chinese president and so on. But you know, German relations with Germany and Europe in general are so important for Turkey because there's a structural thing here. Like, look at trade, as was mentioned. Look at investment. I mean, Turkey is so embedded within the European structure, economy-wise, social-wise, the people, the diaspora, and so on. Well, today, let me give you some numbers. Like 70% of all the foreign direct investment stock in Turkey is from Europe. Now, Turkey is, of course, making efforts to do more investment from China these days, from Russia, from elsewhere, but still Turkey is so much dependent on foreign direct investment coming from Europe. Half of Turkish exports are going to Europe. And a strong Turkish diaspora in Europe, especially in Germany, which is creating not only cultural links, but also business links and economic links. So these are not going to change. China, Russia, and so on, especially economy-wise, they will help Turkey's attempts to diversify its relationships, diversify its foreign policy vision. But still, Germany and European Union as general is at the center of Turkey's international relations. Again, not only economy-wise, but politically, culturally, socially, and so on. So, therefore, this meeting is very important because there have been ups and downs in Turkey's relationship with Germany and Europe as a whole as well. But the thing is, this relationship is so central for Turkish foreign policy, and so you cannot just give it up.
And this will perhaps be the last meeting between Angela Merkel and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in terms of heads of state. So they've been sort of at the forefront of each country's respective politics for more than a decade now. And now one of the burdens on the Turkish economy is the refugee situation. The Turkish president is expected to meet with the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres in the coming hours. Turkey hosts the most number of refugees of all the countries in the world. We celebrated World Refugee Day last week. We had some good coverage by our Adnan Nawaz on that. Just talk to us what this issue and how it will be dealt with, because this is a recurring theme in many past G20 meetings.
Exactly.
And this is a message that Turkey is once again sort of going to be pushing with world leaders.
Exactly. Well, Turkey is hosting the highest number of Syrian refugees. We know the numbers. It's about 3.6 million Syrian refugees now calling Turkey home these days. So, and well, Turkey's point here is, of course, well, we are hosting these people, and but the burden, especially the financial burden, has to be shared in a more just and in a more equal way. So it's about, especially about the financial burden sharing. But refugees are not only a financial burden. So refugees are more than that. So I think it's also important to talk, between Turkey and European countries exactly about what these refugees mean for their respective host countries. So here is what I mean. Now, I'm living in Turkey, you're living in Turkey, so we see Syrian refugees around 3.6 million. So we think about them mostly in terms of people in need. Of course, there are people in need. But most of these people are also entrepreneurs. They are doctors, they are students, they are people who are producing something, creating value, and now doing this in their new country, a country, perhaps temporary, but they are adding value to Turkey's economy, Turkey's exports in many areas. So it's also important to see the refugees in this through
context.
this lens, in this context, and this is something we really need to talk about to Europeans as well, because also the Syrian refugees who are going to Europe, calling European countries home, they are not there to draw the resources or so. They are there actually also to contribute to their host societies, economies, and so on.
Altay Atli, thank you very much for that insight and analysis. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.